Right, I just couldn't let this video pass without commenting on it. Any of you that have seen my videos, and there's not many of you, well you'll know that I'm toying with the idea of voting for UKIP or not voting at all. If I do vote UKIP, it's solely because of their stance on the EU. I firmly believe we need to get out of the EU if we stand a chance of a future. With that said, let's have a look at this video.
It's Sunday morning, it's pouring down with rain. The princess has been born. And Thursday is the general election. This is a party, this isn't a party political broadcast, this is a plea. This is a calling. This is a reaching out to all those people that have been filled with fear, filled with hate, filled with prejudice. This is a calling for people begging, asking, pleading, come back. You know, there is another way, there's another chance. Don't vote UKIP. Don't vote UKIP.
Okay, so this another way, this another chance that this guy talks about obviously doesn't involve UKIP. Fair enough, that's his opinion. However, his another way, his another chance seems to be the Labour Party. And since Miliband said a few days ago that he won't do a deal with the SNP, that he would rather give up power to the Tories, is this guy calling for the Tories to get back into power?
Let go of the xenophobia.
I find it amazing when people say that UKIP voters are xenophobic and are racist. It just simply isn't true. Wanting to control your borders, like Australia, is not xenophobic. It's not racist. I don't hear everybody crying out on the planet that Australia is a racist country. Why isn't there calls for Australia to drop their apparently racist border controls? Is it because they've been doing it for ages, so that doesn't count?
Let go of everything that the billionaire tax evading media barons have taken your mental mentality and taken you to the dark side, taking you to the side of humanity that they know that you're lost. I know you're lost.
Well, if the dark side involves not being dictated to by an unelected bureaucracy in the EU, and if it means having the ability to control our country once again, well, throw me in that briar patch. It's funny, isn't it? You could be forgiven for thinking when you listen to this Labour supporter that Labour didn't take us to war on lies and kill over 1 million people, and that they didn't start privatising the NHS, or they didn't admit that they were trying to destroy British culture forever.
You know, this is a chance to say to give it another go. Don't vote Tory. I mean, if you have to, if you really have to, vote Lib Dem. You know, if there's that much evil inside you, vote Lib Dem. But just don't vote UKIP.
Okay, let me see if I've got this straight. You don't want us to vote for the establishment Tories, but you'd rather us vote for the establishment Lib Dems. But ideally you'd like us to vote for the establishment Labour, rather than what you see as establishment UKIP. Have I got that right?
You know, you're Nigel Farage, he's exploited you.
I don't feel like I'm the one who's been exploited. All I've seen so far in this campaign is Labour and the Tories being pushed everywhere I look. Not sure that Labour and the Tories being rammed down our throats means that Nigel Farage has been exploiting me. Farage has been demonised throughout this whole campaign. Every time he's on telly, he's attacked more than any other politician.
He's a millionaire banker from the city.
He was a broker.
And all of the candidates, ex-Tories, you know, that's not voting for change. That's not change. How can it be change? They're the same people.
Granted, apparently there are quite a few former Tories within UKIP, so we are told. But that's because Cameron isn't following conventional Tory policies anymore. But to say that voting for UKIP, who have never been in power, wouldn't be change when you advocate voting for Labour is beyond a joke. Stop headline, huge change, voting for Labour. Is that the revolution your mate Russell Brand wrote in his book about? Let's have a revolution, we want change. Vote for the Fabian Society Establishment Labour Party, the very same bank-loving war criminals that reduced this country to tatters. Change you can be led into believing. You should get your mate Bran to use that in one of his stand-up routines. He would get a massive laugh.
You know, don't let Nigel Farage, don't let him anywhere near the Houses of Parliament. Don't let him through that. Don't let him in Thanet. Don't let any UKIPs anywhere. And only you can do it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Instead of having some new ideas, some new MPs, let's just vote in the same old robbing, cheating, scamming, expenses scoffing MPs that we've had for years, because that would be change you can believe in, wouldn't it?
This is a call in to all UKIP supporters. I know that I've laughed at you in the past, you know, with the Scottish ball bag thing, you know, and right now, if it helps, I'm sorry, I apologise for that. You know, I shouldn't laugh at you. You know, we shouldn't laugh at you know, it's serious. It's serious. You know, you filled the void with the BNP and the National Front.
Seriously? That is just being intellectually dishonest. That's a ridiculous thing to say. You diminish your argument when you lump UKIP in with the likes of the BNP. It shows a lack of understanding about what UKIP are really about. But I remind you again, I might not even have a dog in this fight. But what you just said about UKIP being the new BNP is just pure ignorance, and it is 100% wrong.
And our media has allowed the normalization of racism, of intolerance, of fear. You know,
how on earth can you say that? The media haven't normalised racism because of UKIP. If anything, racism has been highlighted more. People who are racist are demonised more. And now you're more likely than ever to get arrested for a racist post on social media. What you've just said is completely wrong. Every alleged racist comment by UKIP candidate is on Sky News before you can blink. And from there, everyone else hammers Farage and his party for something a UKIP councillor said on Facebook late at night. But the mainstream media completely ignore any similar comments made by Lib Dems, your loving Labour Party, and Tory candidates. They are demonising and trying to discredit UKIP at every turn. That's not normalising racism.
It's the bankers. It's the people in the city. It's, you know, it's the powers that be. It's the war machine. You know, they're the ones that want to exploit you.
Exactly. It is the bankers. It is the war machine that want to exploit us. And who bailed the bankers out over the people? The Labour Party. Who pissed away banking regulations when they were in power? The Labour Party. If you honestly think that Labour is the answer, then you're in for a rude awakening, my friend. By the way, who was it who oversaw the sale of our country's gold? It was Labour. Gordon Brown. He did the most stupid thing anybody could ever do if you're selling gold. He told big business when he was going to sell it. The price dropped, they made a killing on the back of the people. The people, again, lost billions because of Labour. They're all in this together.
You know, we can all get angry and we can all get upset and we can all see that housing is, you know, work, you know, our national health, you know, our children's education. But it's being exploited by... This hasn't been a recession, it's been a robbery. The richest wealth has doubled.
I agree, it has been a robbery to the wealthy from the people. But good God, man, do you honestly think Labour aren't as much in the pocket of bankers and big business as the Tories? The Tories are just more open about it. When the next banking collapse happens, do you think Labour will let the banks fail and support and back the people, or will they bail out the banks again? I can assure you that it will be the bankers every time. UKIP may also choose the bankers. They probably would. As I've said, I may not even bother voting. UKIP aren't perfect. I say that all the time in my videos, but UKIP haven't been power sharing with the Tories for the last God knows how many billions of years. Have they? There's something new. We know what happens if we go down the same old tried and tested doubling the rich Labour, doubling the rich Tory parties, don't we? If we as a society haven't got the balls for real change, Why not look at something other than what hasn't been engulfed in the establishment since forever?
And Nigel Farage and his ilk, they're on their side. The richest people in this country, their wealth has doubled. Well, people are suffering, and they've exploited that.
People are suffering, I agree. It's an utter disgrace. They're suffering because the Tory introduced austerity cuts that came about because Labour overspent and they bailed out the banks above the people. Nothing will change under Labour. It might not change under UKIP, but at least UKIP are showing where the cuts would come from. Labour and the Tories are just sticking their fingers in the air. This money owed was made up out of thin air. We shouldn't have to repay it anyway. If the Bank of England was truly nationalised in 1946, like we're led to believe that it was, then they could, like any good parent, give us a bloody good telling off for overspending and wipe their debt out. But they didn't, because, as you say, this was a robbery, and it's going to continue whoever is in charge. We need to change the system. Thinking Labour will change anything is deluding yourself, my friend.
You know, there was a guy on James O'Brien. I know you don't like James O'Brien from the LBC because he exposed Nigel Farage as a raving racist.
Not sure he did. He talked over him most of the time with a very patronising tone in his voice.
You know, he was on there and he said to James O'Brien, you know, thank you. You've shown me that it's not migrants. It's the powers that want to control our thoughts through propaganda, who want to exploit our fears and expose them as prejudice.
So Ed Miliband hiring David Axelrod, that wasn't about propaganda, fear and prejudice, no? They hired him to spew Labour's propaganda about the likes of UKIP, and it seems to have worked pretty well on you, my friend. But again, I agree with you, it's not the immigrants' fault, it's not their fault. All UKIP are asking for is control of the borders, like that racist country Australia that nobody talks about. A similar style to them. It's the bankers that have robbed us blind. But again, I come back to my point. Nothing will change under a Labour government. They may tweak the edges here and there, but as Ed Miliband said, change is slow. It will be so slow, in fact, that you'll be forgiven for thinking that nothing has in fact changed.
So this is a calling for anyone who's contemplating, anyone who's thinking that they want to vote UKIP. You know, give yourself a chance. Give your children a chance. Give. You know, embrace love, compassion, and tolerance.
I'm sure the 30 billion of cuts that Labour have signed up to is very compassionate, tolerant, and loving.
You know, fight against the real people who are really controlling the country, who are really exploiting working class people. You know, who are really trying to.
Are you seriously suggesting that Labour are not controlled by the very same force that the Tory party and possibly UKIP are? Seriously? So Labour are the oasis in the desert, are they? You really think Ed Miliband is going to take on the multinationals? You really think Ed Miliband is going to take on HSBC, Google, Amazon? Not a chance. Labour are in it up to their eyeballs. Look at Margaret Hodge. She was chairperson of the Public Accounts Committee. She was there to drill Amazon, Google, Starbucks and the like about not paying taxes, when it was revealed that her family business paid just 0.01% tax on 2 billion in sales. She's Labour. They're all in it together. That wasn't a Tory tagline, that was a parliamentary tagline. Labour will not change a bloody thing.
You know, and the middle classes, you know, the shires are filled. They are filled to overflowing with people with Range Rovers and who aspire to be, you know, and they yesterday on the BBC when they said, like, oh, look, everyone's dressing up as princesses, but they know that they can't be. They don't know that they can't be. You know, that exposes all the failings of the monarchy. And that's where, I know your patriotism, you love your country. You love your country. We know that. We all love our country. We all love the world. We love the planet.
If you love the planet, why are you going to vote for Labour? Because they will carry on and allow TTIP to be signed into law, which will put profit over people and the planet. Labour, the Tories, are two heads of the same monster.
I love the rain dripping down on me and getting wet. Don't you?
I do as it goes. I love being out in the rain. Just makes you feel alive.
You know, we love this. Things could be so much better. But politics, the right wing, you know, with the Tories and see, the whole UKIP thing has been a plan to get the Tories to shift the politics to the... I mean, Nigel Farage, he's on the TV every day and his vote has collapsed. The UKIP vote has collapsed. Because the majority of people can see that, you know, it's yourself that you're hurting the most. It's yourself that you hurt the most with and your kids. By exposing them to the fear and the hate.
Because, of course, Labour and the Tories haven't been using fear and hate in this campaign at all, have they? And it's the media that generate the hate towards UKIP. But as you say, Farage's vote does seem to have gone down considerably. So you could say you will get your wish. Only 1 or 2 UKIP MPs. Ed Miliband not working with the SNP after saying he wouldn't do a deal with him. So it looks to me like you, despite saying not to vote for them, want the Tories to get into power.
So that's my message this last weekend going into the... I don't even have got a clue what kind of person votes Tory.
Well, hang on. If Miliband won't do a deal with the SNP and he would rather give up power, isn't a Labour vote putting the Tories into power? Wouldn't your Labour vote technically be a vote for the Tories because Miliband has ruled out doing anything with the SNP?
But if you've been affected by the propaganda, if your mental mentality has been fed the disease of fear and hate and prejudice, you know, come back. We love you. We love you. Don't vote UKIP.
Don't vote UKIP. Vote for banker-loving, warmongering, nothing going to change, just as establishment as the Tories, Labour. Vote for real change. Putting up a gravestone in your garden isn't quite like enshrining your manifesto into law. Parties won't enshrine their manifestos into law because they know they are lying to win votes and will put through hardly any of their manifesto. Just wait and see. UKIP aren't perfect, but I can't vote for Labour, who are as establishment as the Tories. UKIP may be establishment, but surely they can't do any worse than what we've already had. One thing is for sure, Labour or the Tories, it doesn't matter. They both want the same. One will cut at least 30 billion, the other will cut at least 30 billion, but over a couple of years longer. What's for tea, mum? Dog shit on toast or cat shit on toast? As I've said, I might not even vote, but if I do, I know that I'm voting for a party that isn't the be-all and end-all. They are different from what we've had to endure for however many hundreds of years. I'm sorry to say, but if you think that Labour are the answer, then you are truly deluded. And with Miliband having now said that he would do nothing with the SNP, he has virtually handed power back to the Tories. But having said that, in the short term, anyone is better than the Tories. There will be blood on the streets if the Tories get in. Labour will keep the lid on things for a little while. Oh, and the last time I checked, I didn't find any UKIP MPs or UKIP peers that have been accused of raping kids. It is time for real change. Labour, Tories, Lib Dem, that's not change.